Okay, I'm going to do this last problem, number 11, as an example here. And it says to write the following propositions in disjunctive normal form. Okay, let me just review disjunctive normal form briefly. If you have some function, let's say f, and however many rows you have in your truth table for that function f, you'll have zeros and ones somehow. There will be a column of zeros and ones. Every time you have a 1, you're going to write a term in your disjunctive normal form that has AND statements that force the variables, whether it's P and Q or P and Q and R, to represent that row of that truth table. Okay? And you're going to do that for every time you see a 1 in the truth table for that function. And then you're going to take all of those things. So whatever the P's and the Q's, whatever the variables are called, you're going to make an AND statement that forces that row of the table. And then you're going to put OR statements in between all of those things. And that's why it's called disjunctive normal form, because an OR is called a disjunction, technically. And so what we're going to do for each of these is we're going to make the truth table. We're going to see where there are ones, and then we're going to write down the disjunctive normal form. So in the first one, it's only a function of P and Q. And I'll go if P then Q or P. And I have 4 different rows. And let's just do this in a couple steps. If P then Q is only false when I have a true premise and a false conclusion. And P, I'll just copy it 0, 0, 1, 1. And now I'm going to do an OR between these two. And it turns out that I get all ones. And so this is a tautology. And so I can write this as, equals 1. But disjunctive normal form requires me to write down a statement for each row where I get a 1 in my final truth table. And that means I'm going to write if P then Q or P, which is really equal to 1, is also equal to, now I have a 1 in the first row, so I'm going to write something, an AND statement that nails down those variables. P's got to be false and Q's got to be false. Not P and not Q. And then I'm going to OR that with the second row, which has a 1. And to nail those down, I say not P and Q. Okay, so this one corresponds to row number 2 having a 1 in it, and I force it, and I say not P and Q. Similarly, for row 3, I go OR, and I have P and not Q. And finally, similarly for row 4, I have P and Q. So this is technically the disjunctive normal form for a tautology. It says that either I'm going to have one of 4 possibilities. Either they're both false, or one of them is true and the other's false, or the other way around, or they're both true. And we know those are the only 4 possibilities, and so that, I hope, makes sense. Let's do P and Q. I think I might have room down here. I'll do P, Q, P, and Q. And let's see where the ones are in my... It's only true when they're both true, and so I only have a single one, and so I'm going to write down a statement that nails both these variables down, both P and Q, to true, and that means that I'm going to write P and Q. And you'll notice that I don't have to OR it with any others because there's only one of them that's true. And it turns out that P and Q is already in disjunctive normal form because of that. Here's another one. I think I might be able to actually fit it here. P, Q, P or not Q. I can certainly fit the truth table here. P or not Q is going to be true whenever P is true, first of all. That's rows 3 and 4, and it's also true on rows 1 and 3 where Q is false and where not Q is therefore true. So rows 1 and 3, it's also true on. I already have it true on row 1. And for row 2, P is false and not Q is also false, so that's a 0. So now I have 3 terms in my disjunctive normal form. The first one forces both P and Q to be false, not P and not Q. Or, and I'm going to continue it on the next line, the second one in the truth table wants P to be true and Q to be false. P and not Q. Finally, or for the third row, I want to have P and Q both being true. And so this over here is the disjunctive normal form for P or not Q. And I hope that review of disjunctive normal form helps and that these examples make sense.